Part 60. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 609. Chi stopped sobbing when the group of refugees first arrived nearby, because there were outsiders here, and she didn't want others to see her in this embarrassing state. She quietly watched the group of refugees plundering the corpses of the soldiers, and happily thanked God every time they found a piece of rations. Of course, this group of refugees all had a tacit understanding and did not get close to Chi. Chi did not talk to them and just watched their movements quietly. When it got dark, Chi and the group of refugees lit up bonfires on the ground dozens of meters apart, and the women began to cook food using the metal utensils they carried. Several children among the refugees also regained some vitality. They knew that they could finally eat today and no longer have to go hungry. Chi listened to the laughter from over there, sighing secretly that sometimes it was really easy for people to be satisfied. Her purple eyes reflected the flickering firelight, and she was thinking about what she should do next. Chi has recovered from the previous state of self-violence. She feels that her previous idea of relying on the power of the kingdom to change the country is a bit unrealistic. She needs to find another path, a path that can realize her ideals and ideas, but no one can give her guidance. Sister Binghua once told her, "Gather like-minded companions and unite all forces that can be united." But now Chi is alone and has no friends. He has been evading pursuit for the past few months, but in the end he has accomplished nothing. "Miss, I see you haven't eaten anything. My wife made this for you, and I brought some here specially for you. At the same time, thank you again for your actions today. If you hadn't allowed us to search for food on those soldiers here, I'm afraid my companions and I wouldn't have been able to survive tomorrow." The thin young man who had worked up the courage to come to Chi in the afternoon was now a few meters away from Chi again, carrying a relatively clean-looking bowl filled with porridge. Chi did not reject the thin young man's kindness. He took the bowl he handed over and asked casually, "Why are you wandering in the wild? Why don't you find a piece of land to settle down and live a relatively stable life?" The thin young man's originally happy face darkened when he heard this. "What I don't know is that as long as we become refugees, apart from being serfs for those noble lords, we no longer have the right to farm in the noble territories. We also want to find a place that can accommodate people like us, but no nobles are willing to take in refugees like us. If unfortunately we encounter the army, we will all be arrested and do hard labor. Even if we die, no one will remember us." The young man's words were helpless and humble, with a touch of confusion about the future. Chi fell silent. She somewhat understood the meaning of what Sister Binghua once said. Only by destroying the old order and establishing a more efficient and advanced order can we accomplish the goals that the current order cannot achieve, otherwise everything will eventually return to where it started. Chi, who hadn't yet thought about what to do in the future, started wandering in the wilderness with this group of refugees. Binghua didn't care about the passage of time as soon as he entered the research state. After a long period of exploration and experiments, Binghua discovered that the transformed warrior relied on his own body to a certain extent. It is not difficult to transform an ordinary Kamigawa creature into a superhuman capable of defeating 1 against 100, but after that it is difficult to continue to strengthen it. There is no difference between strengthening and changing the body. This is undoubtedly putting the cart before the horse. Finally, an idea bursts into Binghua's mind. The special metal synthesized in the latest laboratory is extracted. This metal has good strength and toughness. The most special thing is its energy absorption ability, which can absorb and weaken the damage caused by energy attacks to a certain extent. A design drawing was soon produced by Binghua. The prototype of the overall shape and technology was the anti-third generation super soldier armor that was gathering dust in her arsenal. However, compared to the armor that was biased toward women, the newly designed armor was much simpler in shape, without so many useless decorations and protruding shapes. The overall armor is not a close-fitting type like the anti-third generation armor. Because of the need to take into account the defensive power, the newly designed armor has been enlarged several times, exceeding 2.5 meters and approaching 3 meters, like a small giant. This is the final size determined by Binghua. This is the precise size under the final balance between defense and flexibility. If it is larger, it will hinder flexibility, and if it is smaller, its defense will decrease. However, after the physical object was created, Binghua fell into confusion again. He created it himself and said who it was for. After a moment of silence, Binghua packaged this technology that was approaching maturity and sealed it as a technical reserve. I don't know how Qi is doing now. Binghua checked the time and found that nearly 5 years had passed since Qi left him. Thinking of this, Binghua turned on the detection equipment of the institute and began to search for Kai's current location. Soon Kai's location was revealed, and Binghua was slightly surprised because its location was in the wilds within the kingdom, not in the city. Then Binghua began to read the general information about Qi in recent years, watching Qi wandering with the refugees in the wilderness, and gradually became the leader of the refugees because of his powerful force. And because of Kai's protection, the general bandits who came to rob or to kill people, and gradually more and more refugees gathered under Kai's command. Qi felt that he could not go on like this, so he took the refugees to find a good place and planned to cultivate farmland here. He used the money he got from the bandits to entrust others to buy a batch of seeds. The refugees also agreed with Kai's decision, so Qi and the refugees under his command started the farming mode. But the good times didn't last long, and soon the soldiers of the landlord came to the door and wanted to expel them. Naturally, the refugees under Qi would not give up the farmland they had finally cultivated, so the conflict broke out. Qi led the refugees to easily defeat the army that came to expel them, making her even more popular among the refugees. Binghua knew the outcome without guessing what happened next. Sure enough, with Kai's resistance, more noble troops were encircled and suppressed. Qi learned so much military knowledge at Binghua and was not a vegetarian. Although it was a bit difficult, he still led a group of refugees to defeat the encirclement and suppression of the noble army. He even led more and more refugees to capture the city controlled by the nobles. Kai's powerful force played a key role. This time, Qi directly changed from a leader supported by thousands of refugees to a city lord who controlled tens of thousands of people. This step was not a big step, and it also put Qi into an extremely difficult situation. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 610. In a relatively wide square, Qi was wearing simple clothes cut from a brown robe. Even with such Kai's body, he still gave people a heroic feeling. "Chief, what should we do next?" A thin man with a tanned complexion spoke up and asked the thoughts of those present. Qi pursed his lips and was thinking about what to do. On a whim, he led the refugee army he had hurriedly formed, shot at the city gate, and shot the nobles who blocked him to death. The remaining people surrendered, resulting in all the people now. Everyone was looking at her eagerly, like a baby bird waiting for its mother to feed her. Inadvertently, Qi saw the red light in his subordinate's eyes, which was like the eyes of a hungry wolf seeing delicious food. Kai's face suddenly darkened, and he spoke in a calm tone. "What do you want to do? It looks like you want to make a scene here." An older refugee chuckled a few times and said, "Chief, we finally captured the noble lord's city. I have been so poor in my life that I have never had a wife. Leader, I want to take a woman back to be my wife." Hearing this, Qi glanced at the other people, most of whom were similar to the older refugee just now. Qi had no doubt that as long as he gave the order, they would create a hell on earth in the city. "If I knew who dared to act recklessly here, I would let him test the sharpness of the gun in my hand." Kai's tone was very cold. The refugees present had never seen Qi like this before, and they couldn't help but shrink their heads. Qi walked to a remote corner and sighed. She discovered that ever since they invaded the city, those honest and responsible refugees had developed crooked thoughts. This gave Chi another headache. The knowledge she learned did not include this aspect. She knew how to kill the enemy and defeat the enemy's army, but she was blank in the aspect of guiding people's hearts. After much deliberation, Chi decided to explicitly prohibit it. If anyone did not comply, he would be killed. Anyway, he relied on his own force to lead them. Some people who had ulterior motives among the refugees finally became honest after Chi killed a group of people mercilessly. Chi also began to transform the city with his own will. All nobles who did not cooperate and jumped out to oppose were greeted by Kai's merciless butcher's knife. The first order issued by Chi was to collect the food stored privately in the nobles' homes, and then dismember the nobles' lands and distribute them to civilians who could not afford to eat and had no land to farm. The second order was to liberate all serfs of the nobles and let them regain their freedom. The third order was to start selecting some capable people from refugees and civilians to take charge of specific management work, which greatly eased Kai's workload. The fourth part of Chi plans to recruit an army to enhance the combat capabilities of his unit in order to deal with the subsequent counterattack of the noble forces. As time passed, the refugees and commoners who were afraid of Chi because of the killings she caused unexpectedly discovered that it was unexpectedly easy to beg for food under this new noble master. The army established by Chi also started with 2 or 3 kittens, and gradually formed a certain scale, reaching nearly 1,000 people. Several surrounding nobles were extremely angry at Kai's behavior. They spent a month or 2 allocating manpower, forming an army of tens of thousands, and rushed towards Kai's city. Regarding Chi, a person who has committed a crime below, the noble's idea is very simple, that is, they must nip this trend in the bud. Binghua has been paying attention to Kai's recent situation, and when he discovered that what awaited Chi would be a war of 1,000 versus 10,000, with a huge disparity in numbers. Binghua was not 100% sure whether Chi could win this crucial war, mainly because Kai's subordinates were all farmers who had just trained for less than a month. However, the development of the war was extremely dramatic. Chi just led 1,000 people to launch a surprise attack at night, and the tens of thousands of troops of the noble coalition were charged into chaos. It's really bad, only worse. The fact that Chi defeated the coalition of nobles finally made a big fuss in the kingdom. The kingdom was very troubled by the sudden emergence of refugee forces. And because the kingdom and the empire are at war, a large number of troops are concentrated on the front line, and other nobles are unwilling to dispatch their own private soldiers, so the kingdom's senior officials have a headache on how to deal with Chi. When Binghua saw this, she stopped reading. She was still busy with her own research and couldn't keep her attention on Chi. Moreover, a war of this level is simpler than playing house in Binghua's opinion. She believes that with Kai's ability, the cold weapon army in the pre-nuclear era will not be able to do anything to her. Next, Binghua plans to study a topic that he has had a long time ago, which is an evolvable dark plane computer. Compared with the celestial computers that had powerful computing power and physical universe logic algorithms when they were built, the dark plane computer studied by Binghua was not worth mentioning. However, it has one function that celestial computers do not have, and that is rapid growth. Currently, the only dark plane computer in the known universe that is capable of growth is a large clock. That is the legacy of Kamigawa's civilization, which has been realized in the hands of Super Seminary. As it continues to operate and calculate, its size and computing power will also increase. But after all, the emphasis of Big Clock is on scientific research and big data computing. The dark plane computer that Binghua plans to research is purely for individual and combat assistance. The principle is very simple, that is, it can collect all material data that the master has encountered, whether it is enemies or substances, environments, planetary data, etc. And as the data collected increases, its core logic algorithm can be quickly completed, making its computing assistance capabilities stronger and stronger. Even Binghua, a researcher, does not know its upper limit. However, it is absolutely impossible to exceed the celestial computer. That kind of size can no longer be achieved just by collecting information, but it is enough. After all, it is only something used by individuals. Without the help of Tianjian computing cloud, Binghua had to spend a lot of time on data verification, and several years passed in the blink of an eye. Qi also gradually gained a foothold, punching the empire and kicking the kingdom. No one was her opponent, and the new kingdom she established also broke away from the old model of the kingdom. She used her own will to create a beautiful order that only exists in ideals. It is an order where there is no oppression or persecution, where people help each other, and everyone fights for a happier future. Qi returned to his dormitory and chased away the others. He came to the window and looked at the starry sky outside. The image of Binghua appeared in his mind. "You're doing great and you'll make a good queen." Suddenly a familiar voice came into Kai's ears, and Kai's eyes immediately turned red, and he threw himself directly into Binghua's arms. "Sister Binghua, I thought you left." Qi went back to the mountain a year ago, but did not find Binghua. She thought that Binghua no longer wanted her, and she was very sad at the time. Now that he saw Binghua again, Kai's heart was filled with a feeling called happiness. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 611. Okay, I won't leave you behind. You are the queen who rules a country now. If your subordinates see you like this, your subordinates will look down upon you. Binghua patted Kai's back gently to comfort her, and she looked up at Binghua's face with tearful eyes, as if to take a closer look to see if all this was true. Just like that, Qi spent the night in Binghua's arms. She had never felt so at ease, so comfortable, and let go of all her worries. In a blur, Qi opened his eyes, and what came into view was the familiar roof of the palace. Qi felt a little disappointed, wondering if it was really a dream. Qi turned her head slightly and saw an extremely familiar figure sitting beside her bed looking at the sky outside the curtains. Kai's original dejected mood suddenly disappeared without a trace, and was replaced by immense peace of mind. It turned out that everything last night was not a dream, which was really great. Qi and Binghua sat opposite each other and had breakfast together after a long absence. Together with the white window screen blown by the breeze and the bright light, it created a unique artistic conception. "Sister Binghua, are you going to leave again this time?" Qi asked expectantly, but Binghua's answer made her a little disappointed. "I just came here to see you, Qi. You are no longer the little girl who only followed me around and liked to act coquettishly and naughty. You are now a queen who rules millions of people. You already have your own ideas. It's time to take charge of yourself. Besides, it's not like I won't come back if I leave. This is a device that can contact me. You only need to turn it on to contact me," Binghua said with a smile, while carrying out a metal bracelet that was pale gold in color, engraved with complex and exquisite textures, and inlaid with a blue prismatic crystal in the middle. Qi quickly took it and looked around. The appearance of the bracelet was very delicate, and there was no trace of processing, as if it should be like this. Although she was a little reluctant to say goodbye to Binghua, she did not continue to entangle her. As Binghua said, she had grown up and had her own career and things she wanted to do. She could not just be with him. Binghua went on a trip together and left everything behind. She is no longer the little girl who wanted to go back to find her sister after encountering a slight setback. Moreover, Qi also has a lofty ideal, or rather a goal, in her heart. That is to develop Siros. When he is qualified to help his sister Binghua, he should be able to walk side by side with Sister Binghua in the vast sea of stars in the universe. Qi has this confidence because she learned a lot of knowledge from Binghua, including technology. She believes that as long as she gives herself enough time, she will be able to do what she wants to do. And she also discovered that she was now over 30 years old, but she was still the same as more than 10 years ago, without any signs of aging, which made her even more convinced that her sister Binghua was the legendary god. Binghua and Kai's farewells were not too sad. Binghua is now an old angel of nearly 20,000 years old. 100 years or 10 years is not a long time for her. She knew that she would not be able to see her sister Binghua again for a long time, but she believed that they would meet again sooner or later in the future, and didn't she still have the means to contact her sister Binghua at any time? This is undoubtedly countless times better than the previous situation of being left behind by sister Binghua. Sirius is the name of the planet where Binghua Chi is located. This name is also the name of the country that Chi founded. It is also the first living planet with the intelligent civilization of the Divine River system in Binghua's private star map. During the decades in Sirius, Binghua studied all the conventional elements on Sirius. Apart from finding an element that could improve the strength of metals, there were no other unknown elements discovered by her. This is also the reason why Binghua plans to leave Sirius. She plans to continue to go deep into this unknown star field to find more unknown materials and see various unique civilizations. After more than a month of sailing in the universe, Binghua once again encountered a planet that might harbor life. However, after getting closer, he discovered that even though this planet had an atmosphere, its surface had been severely damaged. Unless it was transformed, otherwise, intelligent life would no longer be possible. The stars in the universe are like grains of sand in the sea, and the ice flowers are like fish swimming in the sea of stars, observing all the new things they encounter with novelty. During this period, Binghua will become a god worshipped by the civilization on a certain planet, and he will also become a saint who leads a certain civilization out of the Dark Age. But the same thing is that Binghua will never stay on a certain planet forever. During this period, Binghua has seen all kinds of political systems, as well as hell and utopia. But the same thing is that there is always hell, but there is no utopia, and it will not last long. War and killing have become frequent visitors in Binghua's journey. Binghua sometimes couldn't help but wonder whether he was really the embodiment of war and death, and conflicts and killings would break out wherever he went. In those civilizations that are influenced by Binghua's unique concepts and ideas of justice, Binghua is undoubtedly the real god. He will not be like the nihilistic gods in books, who are indifferent to mortals and quietly watch the various situations in the world. She will go deep into the mortal world and guide mortals on how to live a better life. She will help mortals break the oppression of cruel rulers. She will spread the knowledge of gods to enlighten the wisdom of mortals, so that mortals can take charge of their own future. Hundreds of years have made Binghua change a lot. She no longer wants to interfere too much in the mortal world as she did when she first arrived in the Chaos Star territory. At that time, Binghua was still subconsciously abiding by the rules of justice and order established by Kesha and not interfering with the normal development of other civilizations. However, Binghua soon discovered that the mortal world was too fragile, and its mortals were even more so. Without God's guidance and help, mortals often have to pay an extremely huge price to achieve what can only be accomplished with a little guidance from God. So Binghua began to passively participate in the changes of civilizations at the beginning, and now occasionally begins to actively seek out those beings who need God's help. Binghua's journey gradually moved from the periphery of the Chaos Star territory to the inner area of the Chaos Star territory, and everything here completely changed Binghua's thoughts. It was a world that could be called desperate. Here, the Kamigawa body no longer dominated the known universe. Here, the biological civilization of the Kamigawa body became the lowest level, a consumable for the two huge forces in the universe. Countless intelligent life forms in the Kamigawa body have to sacrifice everything just to maintain their existence. Life here becomes extremely cheap, and hundreds of millions of lives can often be sacrificed for a certain goal. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 612. Binghua was riding in his own Skysword microspaceship. While he was uploading the information he recorded into the book-style recording device in his hand, he paid a little attention to observe the scanning system of the spacecraft. Suddenly, Binghua's expression changed and the book she was recording information in was put down, and Tianjian's originally normal window immediately turned into a large-scale scanned image. Among them, a group of light spots representing unknown existences were extremely eye-catching, and then the large-scale scanning window disappeared, and the image of the star field around Tianjian began to zoom rapidly. Then Binghua frowned deeply because she encountered an unexpected existence, which was a group of biological battleships sailing in the starry sky. In the Angel's database, it also has a very special name, that is, Chaos Body Fleet, which represents a sign that the chaos virus has developed to a mature stage, and also indicates that a living planet is about to be eroded by the virus. Final stage. Often when a chaos virus develops into a mature stage, it means that at least one or more living planets have been eroded by the chaos virus. Looking at the scale of the chaos biological warship in the picture, at least several living planets have been infected and swallowed up. A scale that can only be achieved with countless resources and living creatures. Trouble. Binghua sighed, because the biological fleet of chaos virus in the picture had separated into a small part and started to move towards her, and it was obvious that she had been found. It is also related to Binghua's arrogant voyage in his own universe. However, this little guy just wants to kill himself. The chaos virus underestimates himself, and he is extremely disgusted with the chaos body ice flower. They are the mortal enemies of life and the destroyers of order. Now that she has met Binghua, she is not prepared to avoid it. It is just a fleet of chaos bodies. She is not the same person she was when the Angels crusade against the chaos virus-infected area thousands of years ago. It is necessary to rely on the large-scale strike capability of the Sky Blade to completely clean up the chaos virus. Now Binghua can carry out large-scale annihilation operations just by herself. So a scene like this appeared in the universe. A tiny golden spaceship, which was as small as dust, crashed into a group of biological battleships composed of hundreds of large and small creatures. Then came the dazzling light groups that rose one after another. The light was like the explosion of stars in the universe and easily annihilated the biological fleet, including the biological sea army that they were proud of. This scene happened to be observed by intelligent life on a nearby planet that was in danger. In order to prevent the civilization from being completely swallowed by the chaos virus, this civilization sent a distress message to the star field. The idea of the civilization is very simple. Even if the one who comes is not a savior but a demon who destroys the world, at least he can drag the chaos virus with him to hell. Anyway, if the situation gets worse, it won't get worse than it is now. But they didn't know that their message for help really attracted a being who could be called a god. He was not the evil god in the legend, but the god of redemption and the god of hope. Seeing those ugly biological warships twisting and burning in the blazing heat, Binghua put down his weapons. In the past, angels had to work harder to deal with these enemies who relied on disgusting numbers, but since the great trial went online, angels no longer have any shortcomings in this regard. As the compiler of the driving formula for the grand trial, Binghua was able to play it to its full potential. After several grand trials that resulted in one-sided killings, all the trash fish sent by the biological fleet were wiped out. Then plant a few suns from Lai Yang's mouth on those huge biological battleships, and everything will be over. Just as Binghua was about to call it a day and return to her car to continue traveling, a wide area distress message spread from the distant starry sky reached her receiving senses. Whether you are evil or righteous, as long as you can save our civilization, we are willing to become your subordinates forever and obey your orders forever. No matter who it is, please come and save us, save us. After a moment of deciphering and translating, the distress message was quickly converted into angelic language, and Binghua could guess what situation the civilization encountered. No civilization has ever been able to stay out of the star field infested by chaotic bodies. They will devour all life, resources, and nutrients around them as if they were eating food. After the empty eaters reach a star field, they will move to another star field and continue to devour them until the end of their lives. Now that the distress message was received, Binghua did not delay any longer. After returning to his car, he rushed towards the location where the distress message was sent. Because he was in a hurry, Binghua directly drove his car into the jump voyage. Boom! Violent explosions, blazing fires, and smoke are the main theme of this area, and of course the roars on the verge of despair and the screams of death are also indispensable as the soundtrack. Soldiers wearing black standard combat uniforms and holding guns that constantly roared and spit out long flames were behind the bunker and kept pulling the triggers on the ferocious monsters that were pouring in front of them like a tide. Behind these soldiers were long cannon barrels that were raised one by one. They continuously emitted ear-splitting roars of large-caliber heavy artillery. They threw countless energy crystals into the monster group, triggering deafening horrific explosions. If a normal attacking army were covered by such intensive firepower, their morale would have collapsed long ago, but what they faced was a ferocious monster that was not afraid of death and came like a tide. "Captain, we have been fighting all day and all night. Isn't it time to switch defenses yet?" A soldier with blank bullets retreated behind the bunker and fired continuously at the side. The older captain asked loudly, "Reload." After saying that, the soldier, whom the soldiers called captain, also retreated into the bunker, and his position was filled by another soldier. "How do I know? And don't be lazy. Stand up and keep shooting. Even if you die, I will die from exhaustion here." The captain had a bad temper. He twisted the collar of the young soldier who asked him when he would change defense and roared, "But captain, I can't lift my hand anymore." The captain lowered his eyes slightly when he heard this, and saw that the gun-holding hand of the soldier he was twisting was trembling slightly, and his heart was filled with anger. The original boiling anger disappeared, replaced by bursts of sadness. I don't know when the familiar faces around him had changed one after another. The originally experienced and harmonious companions gradually turned into ignorant recruits who only knew how to pull the trigger stiffly and shoot at the monsters. "Look, I know you're tired and want to rest. But we are the last line of defense here. If we don't hold it, then all our efforts so far and the breathing space we have gained by sacrificing the lives of our compatriots will be in vain." His chapped lips pursed, but the captain let go of his hand, and his tone was no longer as irritable as before. After saying these words, the captain replenished the gun in his hand with new energy crystals, then stood up again to replenish the ammunition of his teammates. Firepower gap. The exhausted soldier who was leaning on the bunker clenched his upper and lower jaws and stood up slowly with force. A surge of strength surged out of his body that had already reached its limit. He roared and turned around to shoot at the monsters, as if he wanted to vent his physical and mental pain on the monsters that kept coming. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 613. Even though these soldiers had put life and death at risk, the warriors who dragged their bodies to the limit and still fought tenaciously tried their best to stop the attack of these ferocious monsters. But the outcome will still not change. The chaos virus relies on its strong adaptability and resource and nutrient absorption methods to continuously hatch batches of chaos monsters. Those dead chaotic monsters are recovered by the tentacles below the battlefield and remelted into biomass for the next batch of monster hatchings. Underground, where these soldiers could not observe, the tentacles of the chaos virus had quietly spread beneath their feet. For those high-intensity energy crystal mines, the chaos virus unleashed its unprecedented corrosive power. As the metal-paved floor of the heavy firepower position behind the defense line creaked and twisted loudly, the moment thick tentacles broke through the ground, the resistance in this area entered the final countdown to life. A large number of chaotic monsters emerged from the ground in a cluster of heavy firepower positions. They easily slaughtered the operating soldiers and a small number of defensive troops in the heavy firepower position. The defensive troops who were in front of the heavy firepower and on the front line of the battle with the Chaos Monster were instantly overwhelmed by the Chaos Monster. The defense line, which was barely holding on with heavy fire support, was instantly submerged by the endless ocean of chaotic bodies after losing the cover of the cluster artillery. Seeing the Chaos Monster approaching within 10 meters, the soldiers on the defensive front roared angrily, no longer hiding behind the bunker, but stood up and fought to the death. No soldier chose to give up resistance, because the Chaos never accepted surrender. All creatures were their food, and they were never picky eaters. The sharp blade legs and swaying tentacles around the body are their most deadly weapons. A chaotic body with several holes punched in its body by firearms rushed into the middle of the soldiers with a piercing scream. Several tentacles on the back rolled up a soldier who fired at it in the blink of an eye, and tore it apart forcefully on both sides. Countless internal organs immediately flowed to the ground along with the spray of blood. The surrounding soldiers couldn't help but retreat slightly in fear. The captain's orders and usual cooperation training were completely forgotten at this moment. The junior officers among the soldiers were helpless. Although these soldiers did not lack the courage to fight to the death, most of them were new recruits who had not experienced cruel and bloody battles. It is extremely valuable to not be completely swallowed up by fear at the moment of death and to still retain the ability to fight back. When there was a gap in the defensive firepower, the chaos bodies rushed in instantly, like dominoes. Countless soldiers who had no time to retreat were torn into pieces by the tyrannical chaos bodies. After being bathed in blood, the chaos body became even more violent, and finally fell into a bloody hand-to-hand battle between the surrounding soldiers and the chaos body monster. A soldier roared and thrust the dagger in his hand into the chaos monster's back, but it only penetrated a short distance before being stuck by its tough muscles. Before the soldier could make any other moves, several tentacles penetrated his chest one after another and lifted him into the air, swaying like a flag. But the soldier did not die immediately. He kept screaming in pain, and large swaths of blood spilled from the wounds penetrated by the tentacles, while the chaos body continued to pounce on the next enemy. Of course, not all soldiers are powerless against the chaos body. The biggest difference between humans and beasts is wisdom. Some elite veterans who had experienced several bloody battles and dealt with chaos monsters for more than several years used their sharp reactions to quickly avoid the attacks of chaos tentacles. He raised the firearm in his hand and pointed it at chaos body's knees, and fired a few bullets. These bullets containing trace amounts of energy crystal dust inside triggered the activation components inside the bullets at the moment they hit the chaos body's knees. The energy contained in the energy crystal dust inside the bullets was activated, and instantly exploded to form a terrifying high temperature in the center of the explosion. Energy group. Unless an organism has specially evolved to withstand high temperatures, any organism lacks effective resistance in the face of absolute high temperatures, and the same is true for chaotic bodies. The knee that was hit by several bullets was directly ripped open and finally broken into two pieces. No matter how powerful the chaos monster was, it was still bound by the laws of physics in the planet's atmosphere. It lost its balance and fell forward. Then the most threatening tentacles on the chaos body fell behind its knees and were broken directly from the roots by bullets. Chaos monsters that have lost most of their mobility are no different from immobile targets in the eyes of veterans. Then came two alienated arms. Finally, the veteran stepped on the chaos body's head, which was trying to raise its head to continue the attack. He put the muzzle of his gun directly against the chaos body's back head, which lacked tough cuticle protection, and pulled the trigger. A few clicks of the trigger. The next moment, the chaos body's head exploded into several pieces, and its body, which was still twisting and turning, stopped moving as if the pause button had been pressed. The reason why it takes so much trouble is simply because most chaos monsters have evolved tough cuticles to protect their vitals. Only a very small number of warriors can directly send the bullets in their guns into the head of the chaos body from the open mouthparts on its head from the very beginning. Otherwise, it often takes 10 or even dozens of bullets to kill a chaos body, and this is when the impact points are not too scattered. Perhaps the veterans who killed the chaos monsters alone were only 1 in 100. Soon these veterans found that the number of companions around them gradually decreased, and finally they were the only ones left. Looking at the ferocious monsters surrounding him, a ferocious smile appeared on the originally indifferent face of a veteran. The next moment, tentacles attacking from all directions penetrated his chest, and the veteran just used his last strength to shout for Chloris. Then the energy crystal block carried by the veteran was activated, and a terrifying explosion and blazing flames swept the surrounding area more than 10 meters. A dozen chaotic bodies were pulled into hell by this veteran's death blow to serve as backing. This is not the only one. Although energy crystals are also very rare minerals in the Chloris civilization, these veterans are qualified to install one as a final farewell firework for themselves. Just when these veterans were surrounded by chaotic bodies and were about to die on the land they had been holding onto for nearly half a year, there was suddenly a huge whine and a huge roar that echoed in the sky. Then a chaotic biological warship fell from the sky, and its huge size that covered the sky and sun left a large shadow on the ground. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 614. The Chloris people know this thing, the biological mothership of the chaos monster. They once killed 2 of them by relying on human lives and secret weapons. This is why the biological mothership of the chaos virus did not choose to fly directly over the Croatian defense line. Because the Chloris people will let it know the strength of Chloris' spirit, and its firm belief that it will defeat you even if it means death. But now this aerial behemoth hundreds of meters long fell from the sky. Soon the sharp-eyed Chloris soldiers discovered that a black dot that was as tiny as an ant compared to the biological mothership was floating in the air. Above the biological mothership, it falls from the sky with it. With a loud bang, the ground for miles around shook slightly. The shock wave caused by the biological mothership landing on the ground set off a huge wave of earth. Countless chaotic bodies were affected, instead of being blown away. They were crushed to death or submerged by falling earth and rocks. It was only then that the few Chloris warriors who survived on the battlefield discovered that the creature that fell with the biological mothership was actually a humanoid creature with 2 wings on its back. A few religious believers even thought they had seen gods. Otherwise, how could they explain the fact that the biological mothership was shot down by a humanoid creature? The figure in the sky at this moment was Binghua, who had rushed to the planet. Outside the atmosphere of star Chloris, Binghua saw that most of the planet had been eroded by the chaos virus, and there were even biological mothers of several chaotic bodies. The ship wanders around the planet. Although he was confused as to why the chaos body did not produce batches of biological warships, this did not prevent Binghua from cleaning up these pests in the universe. So Binghua left her car directly, equipped with Titan's grip, grabbed the biological mothership closest to her with a force field, and pressed it to the surface of the planet from an altitude of tens of thousands of meters. Hence the miraculous scene that the people of Chloris saw. The appearance of Binghua and his forceful destruction of a biological mothership immediately made the chaos virus obviously angry. Binghua didn't know if the chaos virus had this sentiment, but judging from its actions and the chaos monsters on the ground that continued to gather, fuse and evolve wings, it was very possible. However, she could not win in front of her simply by relying on numbers. After carrying out the flaming sword, the great judgment started, terrifying energy began to gather, and the originally bright sky dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Because it is not in the universe, The algorithm originally used by the Grand Trial to collect stellar radiation was temporarily modified by Binghua to gather light energy, which is more efficient within the atmosphere. Originally, the Great Judgment was a collection of miniature mimic stars that looked like stars, but now what was condensed on the tip of the ice flower sword was a ball of light that emitted endless blazing white light. In fact, the algorithm has not changed. It has become an energy type, which is a typical example of changing the soup without changing the medicine. As the compiler of this set of algorithms, it is easy for Binghua to do this. But the next moment, Binghua frowned slightly, because she discovered that there were still surviving Chloris people nearby. If the Great Trial was left like this, it would certainly be possible to destroy all the chaotic bodies in this area, but those who suppress the Loris probably won't survive either. So the Great Judgment, which was originally in a gathered state, immediately changed its form and covered the sword of the flame sword. Binghua directly held the sword and swept it towards the chaotic body gathered below, unleashing a wide area fan-shaped energy impact. Then a dazzling flash of light lit up, and a terrifying explosion and boiling fire rose up, directly flooding a large area. Countless chaotic bodies were swallowed up by the fire in the screams, turned into burning torches in the high temperature, and finally fell down and turned into coke. After Binghua finished all this, he did not continue to clean up the scattered chaotic bodies. He flapped his wings and came to the defense line of the Chloris people. The left hand equipped with the Titan's grip was grasping downwards. Under the control of Binghua, the invisible force field turned into a big hand and grabbed the hundreds of surviving Chloris soldiers, and flew towards Chloris remaining soldiers with Binghua. Sphere of influence. This time Binghua has no intention of hiding his powerful power. The Chloris people are almost exterminated by the Chaos body. If they continue to hide, they can only watch the Chloris people fight to the last person. She was born in the angelic civilization and was influenced by the order of justice. Binghua, whose perspective is naturally at the level of gods, is naturally not stupid and knows how to prioritize. Of course, this is mainly because the Chloris people will not cause any harm to the angelic civilization. Threaten. Binghua can be ruthless and unscrupulous towards his enemies, but he will try his best to help the weak ones within his ability. The Chloris warriors who were led away from the battlefield by Hiawa's force field looked around in shock. They were saved, and were saved from the chaos monster by an unknown existence. Looking at the beautiful figure fanning the white wings above them, even those Chloris warriors who had no faith could not help but be shaken in their hearts. Those Chloris people who had faith immediately abandoned their false god who did not help Chloris and believed in the true God who saved them from despair. In the Chloris Supreme Council Hall, the speaker and all the members were present. In fact, there were not many people. There were only 11 people in the entire council hall. What should we call you? The atmosphere was a little awkward at first, mainly because they didn't understand Binghua's nature and were afraid of offending this godlike being. In the end, Speaker Chloris took the lead to break the silence. Binghua's expression was very normal. She had experienced a lot of this kind of scene when she was the Holy Left Wing, so she said it with ease. You can call me Angel, or Binghua. I was attracted by the message you sent for help. Your current situation is not very good. The erosion of this living planet by the Chaos virus is about to reach its final stage, and soon mature Chaos monsters will appear in large numbers. With the current combat power of your civilization, it is simply impossible to withstand it, and destruction is an irreversible outcome. After hearing this, the Chloris counselors present, including the speaker, all looked ugly, but no one raised any questions. Because Chloris' defense line has been continuously breached by the Chaos body in the past 2 years. The weapons that could cause good damage to the Chaos body in the past are now gradually losing their effectiveness. If Chloris hadn't been sitting on the largest energy crystal mine on the entire planet and didn't have to worry too much about energy issues, Chloris wouldn't have been able to last so long and would have been swallowed up by the Chaos body long ago. However, things were not without a turn for the better. This female angel who suddenly arrived on the planet Chloris, exuding a strong presence like a god, and called herself Binghua, did not take the chaos virus seriously either in her tone of voice or in her demeanor. The Decrees Council, which had already fallen into despair about the future, couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. As long as it could save the Decrees civilization, even if they were allowed to kneel down and lick the boots of the goddess, everything was for the sake of Decrees. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 615. Then I dare to ask Lord Angel, what should we do? We Chloris have been resisting for 10 years, and a large number of Chloris people have died in this war for survival. We can't hold on anymore. If you can't help us, Lord Angel, we may not be able to hold on for another year. So I implore the Lord Angel to help us Chloris people get through this crisis. On behalf of all the Chloris people, I swear that as long as Lord Angel helps us Chloris people survive this crisis of destruction, we are willing to become your vassals, obey your orders, and fight for you forever from now on. Speaker Chloris lowered his posture very low, almost as if he was groveling. He was like a drowning man trying to grab a straw, holding onto it no matter whether it was useful or not. Binghua was also surprised by the decisiveness of Speaker Chloris. After all, not everyone can make up his mind in this kind of gambling behavior that puts everything on the line. The other Chloris counselors wanted to say something, but they all opened their mouths but remained silent in the end. Although they were unwilling to leave the decision-making power of the future of Chloris civilization to this unknown existence. But thinking of the situation Chloris was facing now, all the reluctance finally turned into a sigh. The Chloris people had no choice. Binghua took all of this into consideration, and she was quite satisfied with the knowledge of the Chloris people. This was one of the few high-level officials she encountered who did not argue with each other and compete for power. If Chloris really puts forward any conditions or is unwilling to cooperate with her, Binghua will not continue to condescend to help the Lokri people, and she does not insist on preserving Chloris civilization. She was willing to come to this planet and save those Chloris soldiers simply because she didn't want to see a divine river civilization destroyed like this. Another reason was her disgust with the chaos virus. Binghua had actually been thinking about how to let the Chloris people survive the erosion of the chaos virus. She was not ready to directly attack the chaos virus. This is the lesson Binghua has learned in the past 100 years. People will never cherish things that are too easy to obtain. When she first helped some civilizations, she chose to take matters into her own hands and used her unparalleled power to easily rescue those civilizations from chaos and establish an effective order. However, in less than 100 years after Binghua left, various problems arose in those civilizations, including corruption and the struggle for power and gain. In the end, the order established by Binghua was corrupted, and mortals surrendered to their own depravity without any intention of waking up. Those who wanted to change all of this prayed to her, begging her to appear and change this bad reality again. However, Binghua did not take action. She had already discovered her mistake. Kesha's strategy of not interfering with the development of civilization was not unreasonable. Civilizations are all dependent. If angels help backward civilizations develop, and when those civilizations encounter some difficulties without the help of angels, the first thing they will think of is angels. In this way, these civilizations will lose their so-called enterprising spirit and pioneering spirit, and become useless civilizations that rely on angels to survive in the universe. It seems that you are very clear about Lokri's situation, so I won't make any detours with you. First of all, I want to make it clear that I will not take the initiative to destroy the army of chaos monsters. Unless you cannot hold on, I will not take action. Binghua's words were heard by the Chloris counselors present, like a bolt from the blue. They had seen how powerful Binghua was. If Binghua didn't help Chloris destroy the chaos monster, how could Chloris exist? I will provide you with ways to resist the chaos body. As for whether you can destroy the chaos body and drive them out of your homes, it depends on your own abilities. Binghua's words were calm and relaxed, as if he was talking about a trivial matter, but the speaker of Chloris was no longer calm. Lord Angel, our army is no match for the chaos body. If we cannot stop the advance of those monsters in a short time, we will soon become their food. You have to be clear. I won't stay here forever. I can only help you for a while. What will you do if I leave in the future? If the chaotic body erodes your planet and civilization again that day, do you still want to send a message for help to the universe as you did before? Binghua's rhetorical question left speaker Chloris speechless, because this was a matter of fact. If Chloris was in a life and death crisis like now, who knows what kind of existence he would attract. In that case, Lord Angel, whatever you want to do, we Chloris will cooperate with you. Binghua nodded slightly. Chloris speaker's brain was finally not in vain, and he still had some courage and foresight. It is foreseeable that by choosing this path, Chloris will still have to endure huge casualties before completely defeating the chaos virus, but he will have a future of his own civilization. What happened after that was very simple. Since Chloris had decided to embrace Binghua, he would naturally not hide the news anymore. Soon Binghua's existence was revealed to the civilians of Chloris. Some were excited and some were pessimistic. But in the end, the originally lifeless society finally had some ups and downs. On the other hand, the Chloris warriors who were rescued by Binghua from the battlefield promoted Binghua's power and powerful divine power to their colleagues and family members. As long as God is willing to help our Chloris civilization, then the Chloris civilization will never perish, because they are already an existence favored by God. This statement is very popular among the Chloris people who are now pessimistic. They already lack confidence in their own civilization and urgently need a spiritual sustenance to get rid of the pressure that the civilization may perish at any time. Coupled with the acquiescence and promotion of Chloris senior management, Binghua has become the mainstream belief and spiritual sustenance of Chloris people in just a few days. Binghua also knew what the upper management of Chloris had planned. He just wanted to use this move to relieve her, hoping that she could save Chloris civilization with all her heart. But even if the Chloris people don't believe in her, Binghua will help the Chloris people survive this life and death crisis, because she discovered an extremely interesting material from the scientific research part of Chloris. That is the energy crystal mine. This kind of ore is distributed underground on the planet Chloris. Although the storage capacity of the entire planet is not large, it is not large. However, although the energy intensity contained in this energy crystal is not high, from the perspective of Binghua supergod civilization, it is already very high for civilizations at the aerospace level and below. From the energy crystal mine, Binghua saw the possibility of solidifying energy, so she now became interested in this planet. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 616. Regardless of whether this energy crystal is synthesized by humans or studied naturally, it has good scientific research value, but before that, Chloris safety is the top priority. Lord Angel, this is the information on all the weapons we have currently installed. The director of the Chloris Military Research Institute was a little frightened and handed a completely transparent storage card with countless lines inside to Binghua with both hands. Binghua was not polite, and after taking it, he began to use the eye of insight to read the information. Because Chloris' method of storing information was not recorded in the angel civilization, the cracking was delayed for a second or two. How should I put it? After reading the information on the standard weapons of the Chloris people, Binghua wanted to complain but had no place to complain. Because the Chloris civilization highly relies on crystal ores as energy, technology in almost all walks of life is related to this solid energy crystal. Chloris military industry is no exception, whether it is using crystal dust inside bullets as booster fuel, or combining energy crystals with special activation devices to make artillery shells. The technical content is pitifully low, and it is simply a model of throwing a nuclear bomb to hit people with bricks. The only thing that Hyuka can recognize is Chloris' secret weapon. It is also the only ultra-long-range weapon among all Chloris weapons that can cause damage to the Chaos biological mothership. It is a weapon similar to an energy cluster cannon. However, it also has many shortcomings. First of all, it is too large and complicated, and the loss during the energy transmission process is extremely serious. In the end, the power it can exert is less than 40% of the energy consumed. I've seen it. Your weapon technology is too crude and relies too much on crystal mines. A lot of energy is wasted on nothing. Binghua put down the crystal storage disk in his hand and commented, without any trace of accusation or contempt in his tone. However, the director of Decker's Research Institute knew that they would be busy next. Now that I have promised you and you regard me as your god, I will no longer continue to watch you go astray like this. After Binghua finished speaking, he stretched out his hand, and various elements in the void began to form a piece of something similar in appearance to a crystal memory card under the molecular synthesis function of the scientific angel module. Because Binghua didn't understand the nature of crystal minerals yet, she didn't create an exact replica. She uploaded some information and knowledge theories about Kamigawa physics technology into the memory card. At the same time, it also includes some modification plans for Chloris' current weapons. The food must be eaten step by step, and the road must be walked step by step. Binghua does not intend to overdo it. Binghua is like the civilized god of Chloris civilization. Whatever is decided and needed, Chloris Council will complete it with the most efficient efficiency, becoming Binghua's most loyal servant. Due to the urgency of the situation, with the help and guidance of Binghua, Chloris' first military-industrial revolution began. The original use of a gun driven by energy crystals and ammunition filled with energy crystal dust was abandoned. The principle of an electromagnetic rifle was adopted, using the electromagnetic force converted by energy crystals to push ammunition filled with micro-energy crystal warheads. Its power is several times higher than that of Chloris' original standard equipment. The bullets fired by the new weapon have both strong penetrating power and destructive power, and are almost specially designed to break the cuticle of the Chaos body. The production capacity of Chloris' military industry department was limited, so Binghua had no choice but to be both a mother and a father, so she built several material printers. This shocked the scientific researchers of Chloris on the spot. This was simply a miracle. As long as the most basic raw materials were provided, the finished product could be printed directly. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a divine machine. The manufacturing level of Chloris was instantly improved by several levels due to the addition of several material printers, followed by the design of supporting fire weapons for the Chloris army. Chloris used to use projectile artillery fixed on the ground. Although it had its own system, the efficiency was too low and it was not conducive to mobile combat. However, this time Binghua did not lead the weapon design, but left it to the Chloris people themselves. She began to study the nature of energy crystal ores, and of course she did not forget to improve the theoretical knowledge level of the Chloris people. The scientific researchers who can stay here are already research madmen. When Binghua opened the door to energy conversion science for them, these scientific researchers came up with countless good ideas in an instant. However, before that, the first batch of experimental weapons Blaster Type 1 began to be delivered to the frontline soldiers fighting the Chaos virus. By coincidence, the experimental unit was rescued from the Chaos monster army by Binghua. It was an elite unit composed of elite Chloris warriors. Its unit name also fits the record of this group of tough warriors, that is, Chaos Hunters. Kralls is a veteran who has been entangled with Chaos monsters for his entire service life. He is extremely rare even among the Chaos Hunters who are all veterans. He has experienced dozens of battles, and his magnificent experience is enough to compose a movie. Heroic epic. Kralls originally thought that he would be ruined in the defensive battle half a month ago. Faced with countless chaotic monsters surrounding him, even he couldn't help but have the idea that his life would stop here. But in the end, he survived again, but the price was that all the young men he had known for more than a month were left behind, just like before. Sometimes Kralls would think that it would be better if he and his comrades died at the hands of the chaotic monster, so that he could be freed from this reincarnation. But the loss of his comrades and his hometown devoured by chaos monsters are like strong chains, binding him tightly to the giant pillar of hatred that reaches the sky and cannot break free. Now Chloris has found a new spiritual sustenance other than hatred, and that is Chloris' new god, the ice flower goddess who pulled them out of hell. Kralls is familiar with the new equipment. Our mission will be assigned soon. This time we will drive those bastards away from our land. A bearded man pushed open the door of Kroll's room and placed the blaster and the 5 matching magazines on the table in the small room. Kralls turned around, his naked upper body was full of explosive muscles, and criss-crossing scars were all over his chest. This was proof of the battles he had experienced so far, and it was also the fact that he could gain the respect of his colleagues in the Chaos Hunters. Reason. Kralls picked up the so-called new experimental weapon Blaster Type 1 and began to look at it carefully. Its overall shape and caliber are a bit smaller than the military standard firearms he used before, but the gun body is heavier and its appearance is also very delicate. It is much better looking than the previous gun body that looked like it was randomly welded with metal plates. Hopefully its power will satisfy me. You'll be absolutely satisfied, I promise. The bearded man who brought the blaster raised his thumb and grinned, which looked a bit ferocious to match his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 617. Everyone standing here, you are the most elite warriors in Chloris today, and you are also the first batch of troops to obtain the right to use experimental equipment. Do you know why your name is Chaos Hunters? It's because chaos monsters are all prey in front of us. The Chaos Hunter commander wearing light armor stood on a high platform and spoke. Below him were nearly 300 Chaos Hunter soldiers wearing the same armor and holding blasters. Kralls was in the front position. Because of his strength and seniority, he became the captain of a 5-man team. This is something that has never happened before. In the past, Chloris' army did not have a 5-man team at all, but only the most basic organization of a group of 10 people. Looking at the blaster in his hand and the fully protective individual armor on his body that looked quite light but had a faint metallic sheen, Kralls began to have some expectations for the future. After the Chaos Hunter commander finished speaking, all the Chaos Hunters began to enter the transport aircraft. Their mission this time was to airborne near a Chaos Monster hatchery and destroy it to reduce the pressure on the frontal battlefield. This is the combat method most suitable for the Chaos Hunter troops discovered by the Chloris military after careful research. In the past, putting these elite warriors on the frontal battlefield was a waste of their abilities. Of course, this is inseparable from the introduction of Chloris' new weapons with the help of Binghua. Otherwise, no matter how elite the Chaos Hunter warriors are, they will be killed by chaos monsters. Boss, this time we will live and die together. Is there anything you want to say? A group of burly men crowded into the cabin, which was not spacious. Bored, the members of Kroll's team began to joke with each other. When it was Kroll's turn, he only said one sentence. For Chloris and for the goddess, kill all the bastards on the ground. Of course, I can't wait to shoot their heads off with my new toy. Hearing this, the other warriors smiled, their expressions full of confidence, and this all stemmed from the blasters in their hands. After the power test, these Chaos Hunter warriors who have been dealing with Chaos Body clearly understand how much this will improve their combat effectiveness. Suddenly, The aircraft began to shake, and the green light in the cabin suddenly turned red, and at the same time, the pilot's teasing voice sounded. Hold onto your seat belts and let Old Munch take you on a thrilling aerial death chase. The next moment, the speed of the aircraft increased sharply, and at the same time it began to maneuver irregularly, up and down. The soldiers who had still had the energy to joke with each other immediately closed their mouths and turned pale. Hey, brothers, I feel like I'm shaking. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand firmly when I land on the ground. Shut up, stay quiet, everyone checks weapons and is ready to surrender at any time. Kralls shouted loudly. It is good to have a member in the team who can liven up the atmosphere, but it also depends on the occasion. Finally, after a while, the aircraft finally became a little more stable, and then Old Munch's voice sounded again. Haha, it seems that Old Munch's skills haven't deteriorated yet. Boys, you have successfully saved your life in the race against death. The target location has been reached, so I wish you a happy time in hell. After saying that, he only heard the sound of a click of the mechanical lock being disconnected. Kralls immediately noticed that the entire cabin was falling rapidly, and many things were hitting the outer wall of the cabin. However, the airdrop pod used in this airborne operation was made of special alloy, and its thickness reached a certain level. The conventional anti-aircraft firepower of the Chaos body could not penetrate it at all. A moment later, the airdrop pod shook violently, and the reverse braking was activated. The rapidly falling airdrop pod hit the ground with a bang, crushing several chaotic bodies that were lucky enough to be carried home. Facing the airdrop pod falling from the sky, Chaos body was not blind and immediately surrounded it from all sides. At this moment, the front door of the airdrop warehouse suddenly began to fall. When the surrounding chaotic bodies saw a gap, they immediately prepared to rush into it. They had already smelled the smell of fresh flesh and blood. But before they could rush into the airdrop cabin, a strange sound of gunfire rang out, and a hole the size of a human head suddenly exploded in the chaos monster rushing in front, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. The strong cuticle on their bodies can no longer protect their bodies. Under bullets filled with energy crystal warheads, they are no different from ordinary flesh and blood bodies. Keep up the fire and move forward. Kralls gave a simple order, and there was no need for him to say much else. Those present were all veterans who had fought with the Chaos body for many years. So the 5 people stood close to each other, relying on the ferocious power of the blasters in their hands, and working together to suppress the dozens of chaotic monsters around them, making them unable to get close. When the Chaos body loses its proud physical advantage, it is no different from a lamb waiting to be slaughtered in the face of powerful thermal weapons. As Team Kralls gained a foothold and quickly advanced towards the assembly point, they soon encountered other teams. As the Chaos Hunter troops scattered in this area gradually converged, the Chaos monsters that could have relied on their numerical advantage to pursue the Chaos Hunter troops were instead killed by the Chaos Hunter team. Kralls, lead your team into the Chaos body's incubator and install crystal bombs. The remaining combat teams each found bunkers, installed crystal bombs, and taught those bastards a lesson. For Norris, for the goddess. Immediately, the Chaos Hunter warriors present shouted in unison, with unparalleled momentum. Kralls and the other 4 teams looked at the behemoth in front of them that was entrenched on the ground, covered with thick horny armor, and occupying the entire field of vision. They were much more cautious about their next actions. Kralls and the captains of several other teams gathered together, took out the anatomy diagram of the Chaos virus hatchery, pointed to one of the areas and said, "According to those bastards in the intelligence department, this place is the control center, and our battle plan is simple. Just break in here, kill all the enemies you see, install crystal bombs and quickly evacuate. Do you understand? Is there anything else you need to add?" Tisk. You have said it so clearly. Is there anything else you can add? Kralls comes back alive and I'll treat you to a drink. The bearded man named Kaysar was also the captain of the team and one of the few friends of Kroll's. Looking at his outstretched fist, Kroll's and the other 3 captains also extended their fists to bump with him. Remember, we have to go back alive. We are all warriors favored by God. After speaking, Kroll's began to install crystal bombs on the outer wall of the activity hatchery. It was not large in size, but it was made of high-quality energy crystals, and its local destructive power was extremely terrifying. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 618. With a terrifying explosion and a slight tremor on the ground, countless chunks of flesh and blood were scattered in all directions. A huge hole 4 to 5 meters high was blown out of the outer wall of the Chaos Hatchery, and a large amount of blood-colored liquid flowed out of it. Kralls and others had already put on special protective helmets, which were connected to the blind-angle battle suits worn inside the body armor. After seeing that they had successfully blown a gap, they quickly rushed out of the bunker and headed towards the surface of the Chaos Incubation Factory. The blasted hole rushed away. This time the real mission of the Chaos Hunters really begins from now on. The Chaos Hunters responsible for blocking Chaos bodies also ushered in the largest Chaos bodies frenzy to date. Countless Chaos bodies were close to each other, running wildly from 3 directions, and their piercing screams even surpassed the firepower of blasters. The sound of fire. Binghua, who was far away in the core area of Chloris, also rarely put down his research and paid attention to the raid on Chloris. Binghua was satisfied with Chloris' choice to take the initiative. The power of the Chaos virus was erosion and consumption. If he kept defending, he would only be overwhelmed by the Chaos army. The Chaos virus on this planet obviously despised the Chloris people and did not spend a lot of resources to create powerful Chaos creatures. They just kept using some simple structured chaotic bodies to attack the Chloris people's defense line, and seemed to be in no rush to devour the Chloris people. In fact, this is also the most powerful and disgusting part of the Chaos virus. The more powerful you are, the more powerful the Chaos body created by the Chaos virus will be. When Chaos viruses gain an absolute advantage, they will stop evolving and begin to accelerate the rate of eroding the planet until they completely erode the planet, quickly completing the leap from planetary-level Chaos virus to aerospace-level Chaos virus. This was the case with the Chaos virus that raged in the Angel Nebula thousands of years ago. After acquiring the Angel gene, it evolved in a short period of time to create powerful Chaos creatures comparable to Angel warriors. In the end, he was eliminated by the Angels with the force of thunder, and this prevented a greater tragedy. Now that Binghua encountered the Chaos virus again, it was also the reason why he did not take action directly. If you do it yourself and make the Chaos virus feel threatened, then they will evolve crazily, and all kinds of powerful Chaos creatures will emerge in endlessly, which is impossible to resist with the technological level of the Chloris people. Now that the Chaos virus on this planet is relatively calm, Binghua is not prepared to completely anger it, otherwise I am afraid that Binghua will only be able to completely eliminate them by destroying the planet. Binghua temporarily excluded the thoughts from his mind and continued to pay attention to the actions of the Chaos Hunters. At the same time, he was also thinking about what kind of combat method was most suitable to deal with the Chaos virus based on the combat power of the Chloris people. After Kralls led the team to break into the Chaos Incubator, they fell into a hard battle. The passages here extend in all directions, and it is easy to get lost in them. Relying on the powerful blaster in their hands, all the chaotic monsters they encountered along the way became the dead souls of their team. At this moment, in the core area of the Chaos Incubator, with a simple mind, it also felt that the Chaos Hunter that broke into its body was a big threat. Under the stress reaction, dozens of new flesh pupae bulged on the incubation organs above the flesh wall. The flesh was tougher, faster, and more powerful chaotic creatures began to breed in it. A large amount of biomass and the nutrient solution is transported inward, allowing it to mature quickly. Kralls advanced quickly, and when he was about to reach a bifurcated passage, the flesh wall beside him suddenly broke open, and a chaotic creature with 2 pairs of blade feet roared out and jumped out. Kroll subconsciously ducked to avoid the closed blade legs of the chaos body, and then rolled backwards to avoid the chaos body that jumped down. Before the chaos body could get up, his head and chest were blown apart, leaving only the remains of his body lying on the ground. Crowley stood up again, his expression unchanged, and continued to advance, as did the other team members behind him. They had encountered many such situations along the way. If ordinary Crowley's soldiers had rushed in rashly, they would have been killed long ago. Slaughtered to death by the elusive chaos body. When they were about to reach the core area, a communication suddenly came in. It was the captain of another team. "Kralls, you are there. We encountered a chaotic monster that we have never seen before. It is very strong and very fast. My team has been reduced to 2 people. If I encounter it again, I will definitely twist its head off." When Krolls heard this, he stopped moving forward, and his vigilance was instantly raised to the highest level. "Kaysar, what are the characteristics of the other party? Tell us in detail." "It doesn't have any obvious features. It's not big, it's on all fours, it has a long tail, and it's covered in black carapace. Remember to be careful with its tail." "Understood, Hazar, I'm on your left. If conditions permit, move closer to me." Kaysar, also known as Big Beard, had no objection to Kroll's suggestion. His 5-man team now only had 3 people left, including himself. A few minutes later, Kroll suddenly felt a palpitation in his heart, his forward movement suddenly stopped, and a black shadow passed quickly in his sight. Krolls immediately moved the muzzle of his gun up and pulled the trigger, but all the shots missed. However, it succeeded in forcing the black shadow to change its movement trajectory. It seemed that it was difficult for Krolls to attack, and it went straight to the team members behind Krolls. Krolls immediately shouted a warning, but it was too late. One of the team members was knocked out by a huge force. Another team member turned his gun and fired to suppress the attack, but was dodged by the shadow. Then a tail covered with joints broke through the air and passed through the unprotected neck of the team member. Crowley's heart suddenly became angry, and he rushed forward quickly, holding a gun in one hand and firing, while at the same time pulling out the short knife at his waist. The beast-shaped chaotic body roared like a demonstration and threw the body on its tail towards the remaining 2 team members, then turned and rushed towards them. However, the animal-shaped chaotic body was soon forced away from their position by the crossfire of the 2 team members. Those who can join the Chaos Hunters are not simple characters. They can all be regarded as evil ghosts crawling out of the dead. The reason why one of them is killed is mostly because of the first sight. Now they reacted and immediately cooperated with each other to suppress the animal-shaped chaotic body that suddenly appeared. Krolls also took advantage of the beast-shaped chaos body to avoid the shooting of his companions, threw out the short knife in his hand, then half knelt on the ground, raised the blaster and began to aim. The beast-shaped chaotic body that was running around at a high speed was accidentally hit by the short knife. However, due to the horny carapace on its body, the short knife was directly bounced away, but its originally fast movements were also disturbed and paused. At this moment, several fatal bullets hit the body of the beast-shaped chaos body. The carapace, which could easily deflect the sharp blade, was shattered by the bullets, and then the internal warhead exploded violently. Just hearing a bang, several large holes appeared in the body of the beast-shaped chaotic body, and the entire body was knocked away by the huge kinetic energy carried by the bullet and hit the flesh wall. The beast-shaped chaotic body could not make any other moves, and dozens of bullets were fired at it, until it was beaten into pieces, and then it stopped.